welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And today we've got a puzzle for you by the great Florian Wortmann. And this is Florian's first venture into hybrid Sudoku, in the sense that he seems to have combined both Sudoku, yin-yang logic, and minesweeper logic in this puzzle, but apparently it's relatively approachable. Florian rated it 2.5 stars out of 5 for difficulty, and the comments I noticed on Logic Masters Germany have been absolutely wonderful, so this should be a lot of fun, and I'll read you the rules in a moment or two. I'll start today with a birthday. Adam, I think it's your birthday today. You've turned 31. I know this because your wife Samantha wrote a very nice note to us. And in fact, I think it might be the first birthday of your child coming up in a few days' time. And I gather that I'm one of the few things that helped your baby go to sleep. It's never something that has been any good for me at parties. I can tell you this ability to make people become soporific, but I'm delighted if it worked for you guys. And I hope you have a great birthday today with, of course, lots of cake. Other than that, the only other thing that we've got going on, and it's a big thing that we've got going on, is over on Patreon, where we've got bonus videos galore, and we've got these 2 incredible Sudoku hunts that are running concurrently at the moment. We have the Phistomefel hunt, which has still got another 4 days to run. So if you want to have a shout out, you've got to get your answers in the next 4 days by the 10th. Now, I am under no illusion, because I did solve the hunt, just how hard the final couple of puzzles are. So if you are struggling, do get yourselves over to the Cracking the Cryptic Discord server, where there is a patron-only chat channel, and you'll find some hints and tips in there that might get you over the line. And the other thing, of course, we've got is Jay Dyer's incredible hunt as well. Sudoku Alchemy, Numeric Alchemy, the quest to turn digits into gold. The feedback from this one has been incredible. As you'd expect, actually, Jay is an absolutely brilliant constructor. But I'm going to read you out some names of people who solved the Phistomefel hunt today. So Lavender Gooms, Joe Carlin, Christy Klingert, Johnny Bolton, Daniel Gacker, and Matthias Nagy. I don't know how I did with the pronunciation, guys. You'll have to let me know. Danica Wold, I'm not sure. Alfredo Gliotti, Meandering Emu, which is one of the great names of all time. Mark Schumann, Rob Hantz, Jan Lim, Andrew Nicholson, Mr. Potato, Ian Denker, and Charlie Skyra. All of you sent in the correct entries. Very well done, especially to Meandering Emu. I don't know how hard it must be to solve a Phistomefel puzzle if you are a Meandering Emu, but I'm guessing it can't make it easier. Anyway, let's have a look at Between the Mines by Florian Wortmann, and these are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits on a line must have values strictly between those of the digits in both connected circles. So we have between lines today. I'm trying to look at a good example to show. So let's imagine this square was a 2 and this square was a 8. Then we know that those 2 digits there, the digits on the line, must be between the values of 2 and 8. So you can see if we start to shrink this down, this line gets more and more constrained. Now, these digits could only be from 3, 4, and 5. If we reduce this again, these could now only be 3 and 4. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. It's a while since I've done a between lines puzzle. Now, here's the yin-yang bit. Shade some cells such that all shaded cells are orthogonally connected and all unshaded cells are orthogonally connected, which begs the question, what does orthogonally connected mean? Well, those 2 cells are orthogonally connected, and that's because they share an edge. These 2 cells are not orthogonally connected because they only touch each other at a point. So for cells to be orthogonally connected, they have to share an edge. So we could have made those orthogonally connected by shading that one as well. Now those cells are orthogonally connected to one another because they share long edges. But there's another rule which says no 2 by 2 area may be fully shaded or fully unshaded. So if we did have that pattern, this cell now would have to be a different colour, because if this was also purple, that's a 2 by 2 of purple, which will disobey that rule. the circles... so the circles don't only apply for the between line clues. The circles act as minesweeper clues. Cells containing a circle are always unshaded, and their value is the number of shaded cells in the surrounding 3x3 area, i.e. the up to 8 cells that touch the circle either orthogonally or diagonally. Right, so if that square was a 5, we would be saying that 5 of those 8 cells have to be shaded. We know we're told that this is unshaded at the start, so 5 of those would have to be shaded. Let's get it the right way round. What a funny rule set. Right, do have a go though. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. My glasses are adjusted. Let's get cracking. And I'm going to start actually with the given information. It told us that all of the circles were unshaded. Let me check that. I think it said unshaded. Yes, they are always unshaded. So we're going to have an unshaded colour, which we shall make green. And then we'll have shaded cells will be grey when and if we discover them. Right. And I have discovered... No, I haven't. Well, I might have done. I've definitely discovered some more green cells because of the secret. Not that secret. The other secret. The secret of yin-yang. So I should probably have gone over this in the instructions for anyone who's new to yin-yang rules. Let us think about this condition that we have to connect all of the shaded cells orthogonally and all the unshaded cells orthogonally, because it rules out certain patterns of digits. If we filled a 2x2 with a checkerboard pattern, the puzzle would now be broken. And that's because if you imagine trying to connect this side of the checkerboard, this green cell to this green cell, using an orthogonal path, however complicated that orthogonal path is, you're never, having completed that task, going to be able to connect this grey cell to this grey cell by an orthogonal path, because you're going to have looped round it with green and the grey can't pass through. And it's the same if you try and connect these the other way, that one's going to become isolated. So you can never have a checkerboard in yin-yang. And that leads to some interesting properties when you consider the perimeter of a yin-yang puzzle. How many times can the colour change in the perimeter? And the answer is there can only be 2 stretches of colour in this whole perimeter. There's going to be a grey stretch and there's going to be a green stretch. And there cannot be... What you can't do is have sort of this type of thing going on. Because if you try and do this, when you connect those greys together using an orthogonal path, this green is never going to be able to connect via an orthogonal path to that green. So you can only have one continuous stretch of grey and one continuous stretch of green. And that look immediately tells us something about this puzzle. Because if... Well, every green cell on the perimeter has to be connected along the perimeter to the other green cells. So let's just think about those two though, because this is how I spotted what I've spotted, which is how do these two connect along the perimeter? And there's 2 choices. Either the choice is going to be to connect this way and make all of those green. That's certainly possible. Or we would connect clockwise and all of those would be green. But if all of those are green, can you see what happens in the top right of the grid? That is a 2x2 of greenliness. And we don't want any 2x2s of greenliness in the puzzle, because we will break the rules that say we can't have a 2x2 area that's either fully shaded or fully unshaded. So to connect those green cells up, we're going to have to go along the perimeter the other way round. And that is going to give us our first grey cells, look. Because again, we've got to avoid 2x2s of green, avoid a 2x2 of green, avoid a 2x2 of green, avoid a 2x2 of green, nori. So instantly, we've got some stuff going on. Now, what does that mean? Well, I can fill in that digit is what it means, because this digit is the count of grey cells around it, and that seems to have to be a 1. So this is now 2, 3. This is at least a 4. Is that worth pencil marking? Yeah, all right. I hesitate to do it. I'm only doing it because there's a 9 looking at it, so it's one of 5 things. That does seem a bit excessive to me. Okay, so this cell now is quite a low number, isn't it? It sees 2 grey cells already. It could see another 3 grey cells. So it's 2, 3, 4, or 5. Well, oh no, that's fine. I was wondering whether we could rule out 5 because of this great long line here. But actually, those digits could be 2, 3, and 4. Or, oh no, they couldn't. I was going to say they can't be 6, 7, and 8 because then that would have to be a 9. But they could be 2, 3, and 4, and that could be a 1. Although that can't be a 1. I think about it for a different reason. Ah! No, that's very odd. Right. Here is a weirdity. Yeah, I think that must be right. Okay. That... Any circle, I think, which is not on the border of this puzzle, cannot be a 1. I think that's right. Because if it was a 1, how I can put 1 grey cell now around here, but I've got to avoid this being a 2 by 2 and this being a 2 by 2, and you can see that those cells are not, they don't overlap. So although I can stop this being a 2 by 2 of green by having a grey in there, I would have used up my 1 grey cell to do that. So that would be a green, fully green 2 by 2, and that wouldn't work. And I think that logic's, that just applies to any green circle, or any circle. No, all the circles are green. It applies to any circle that's not on the perimeter. We've already seen you can have a 1 on the perimeter because the whole geography of things is different. So that presumably can be a 1. Don't see why it... Well, if it is a 1, it would be interesting that either that or that would have to be grey, because the grey would have to escape. So if you try and make that grey, and this... Oh, this can't be a 1. Hang on, what am I talking about? SUDOKU prevents this from being 1. So this has got to be a 2, 3, or a 4, because it could only see a maximum of 4 grey cells. So if that was 4... 5, 6, 7, that would be 8. Now, that's not 8. Okay, I hadn't clocked this either. Sorry, I'm being slow today, but it's Friday. Let me off. Right, this, not only can these not be 1s, they can't be 8s, and they can't be more than 8, because they can't be 9s, because there are not 9 grey cells there, because this is already green. Now they can't be 8, because if that's an 8, I've got to ring my green cell with grey, and that's not going to work, because that green definitely cannot connect to its friends now. So actually, every circle, that applies to every circle, whether it's on the perimeter or not, although maybe we do the perimeters separately, because they're a much more restricted number set that can go into them. So, do I want to do this? I mean, what I'm noting is that every digit that's internal, every circle that's internal to the puzzle is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. 2, 3, 4. That's 6 different digits, isn't it? I think we'll just remember that, because otherwise that's going to get completely confusing. Let's fill in the edges. That's got to be a 2 or a 3 only. It can't be 1. So 2 or 3 of these digits are grey. That digit could be up to 4 greys and could itself be a 1, but it's relatively low. So that can't be 4, can it? Because 4, 5, 6, 7, that would be an 8 or a 9, which we've proved is impossible. So this is 2 or 3. If it's 2, 3, 4, 5, that's got to be at least 6. And it could be 7. Which is possibly interesting. He says, desperately trying to work out what that means. If that's 5 then. If that's 5, this can't ascend to 9, so this would have to be descending towards a 1 here. 2, 3, 4. This would be a 1. We've said that can't be a 1. You can't put 1. So that cannot be 5. It's just impossible to make it work. And that's because we have to have 3 different digits there that either all have to be above 5 or below 5, and yet still below the boundaries. And because we can't make this an extreme digit, that just doesn't work. I'm not even sure 4 works here. If that's 4, these could be 5, 6, 7, but that makes that 8 again, which we said it can't be, so that's not 4 either. It obviously can't go downwards either from 4 or 5. It's going to make this 1, and that's not going to work, or 0, which is even more not going to work. So this is a low digit. We have now established that. It's definitely low. Oh. Right. And actually it's now limiting the number of greys it can have around it, isn't it? If that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would be 7. And then this would have to be a low digit, because we'd have pressure here then, wouldn't we? If that's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3... and that would have to be a 2 or a 1. Now, there must be one grey cell there to avoid a 2 by 2. But there wouldn't also have to be one there. So I think that can be a 1. Or maybe the point is that can't be 3 or 4. I might think about that in a moment or two. I'm just trying to see if there's something easier here that's going to help us. Is there something simple? See, I have a horrible feeling that I'm missing some yin-yang trickery that would really just blow the puzzle open. I mean, I've got to connect this grey. So those can't both be green. So at least one of these. So that is a domino. One of one colour, one of the other. Because if it was both green, that's isolated. If it's both grey, that's a 2 by 2 of grey. So this is one of each. That can't. This can't be 8. We've already said anything in the middle of the grid can't be 8, because it would be ringed. So that's come down slightly. Yeah, we could go on a complete festival of pencil marking as well, but I could label these digits with the digits 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. I'm just reluctant to do it. I think it'll just confuse me. That's primarily the reason why. It'd be nice to get the middle digit, wouldn't it? Is that under any special pressure? I don't know. Okay. One of these must be grey. At least. Possibly both. Oh, no, hang on, there's an... that's what I've missed. Look, if you look at this little house-shaped region here, I've been so blinkered. I was looking at those 3 cells and thinking, okay, well, they have to be lower than this digit, but that of course applies to that digit as well. There are actually 4 digits there that have to lie between the 2 between lines. So how could that be 6? 5, 4, 3, 2, that would make this a 1. That's beautiful. That's beautiful and simple. I just didn't see it. So that's 7, and that's still got to be 2, because 6, 5, 4, 3. We need to have 4 gaps, effectively. So this is a 2 now. That's got to have a huge number of greynesses around it. Yeah, so in terms of how many grey, there are 8 cells that surround this cell here. And 7 of those have to be grey. But you couldn't make those 4 grey, because if all 4 of those were grey, it wouldn't matter what you did with the others. But if all 4 of those were grey, this green could not orthogonally connect to anything else, so that would break the puzzle. So in fact we learn all 4 corners are grey, and that's beautiful because that completes the 2. Oh, that's lovely. That is absolutely lovely. So the 2's now got its quota of greynesses. This grey has to get out, so that becomes grey. That being green completes the completes the 7 clue, which must then be, sorry, I was just checking that that was indeed green, and it was, because the 2 clue was completed. So that becomes a sort of sideways horseshoe of greynesses. These digits we know, and I'm very prepared to pencil mark them, are 3s, 4s, 5s and 6s. These squares are therefore 1s, 8s and 9s by Sudoku. That's not 1 in the corner. And from that we can deduce what? This now is high, right, well unsurprisingly it's higher than this. It's seeing 4 at the moment. So it's got to be 4, 5, 6, it's not 7, it sees 7 already. It can't be 8 because it's in the middle of the grid. So that is 4, 5 or 6. Oh, I see. This is huge. Right, this beautiful 7 is seeing this digit now, and that's massive for that circle. Because now, if this isn't 7, we know it can't be 8 because it would be ringed in grey. So it could be 6. 5, 4, 3, and that just allows this to survive as a 2. So it must be 6. That must be 2. These must be a 3, 4, 5 triple. This must be a 3, 4 or a 5. This must be a 3, 4 or a 5. And there's now got to be 6 greynesses around there. There's 2 greynesses around there which are already placed, so those become green. It's lovely the way this is flowing, actually, isn't it? And this grey needs to connect to some friends. This grey needs to connect to some friends. It's got to go all the way out, look, all the way down to there. So probably, well, can we get some more? Well, this is grey, because otherwise we're going to have a 2 by 2 of green. So that's grey. This square now, which is not able to be 4 anymore because it already sees 5 greys. So that's 5 or 6. And it is 6. Because if it was 5, it's already completed its greys. Therefore, those 2 turn green. And that's a 2 by 2 of green, which won't work. So that is 6. Which means this square, oh, it's 3, 4 and 5 again. It's the same as all these. Oh, I've got a 3, 4, 5, 6 quadruple in row 3, the 6 of which is on the left side, so that cell's not 6 anymore. Almost got the bones of one of those there as well. So this row, look, only needs 1s, 2s, 7s, 8s and 9s. Well, that's square. Oh yeah, look, I hadn't thought about this, but look at these 2 digits now. That's a 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. This is a 1. Wow, okay. 2, 3, 4 and 5 go in here. That square's a 2, because it sees this quadruple we just found. So these squares here are not 2. We've got more, that's a 3, 4, 5 triple in row 4, a 3, 4, 5 triple in row 5. This is a 1, so there's only one. Oh yeah, look at this. There's only 1 grey in those 4, in that little tetromino piece, that Tetris piece I've just placed there. Now, If that grey was not in this domino, both of these would be green, and that would create a 2 by 2. So that means the grey is in one of those two cells, which means both of those are green. Both of those are green. We've now got to avoid the 2 by 2 here, so that becomes the only grey that this one sees, and that becomes green. These greys both have to escape, so these both become grey. Oh, that was exciting for a moment, wasn't it? 1s, 7s and 8s to complete column 8. That's not a 1 by Sudoku. Now what can we do? So this one clue is done. This 2 or 3 clue is not done. Now what about this clue? That's seeing 4. It can't see more. It can't be 7 anymore here, because even if everything is shaded, it can't see more than 6. Don't know if we can do better than that. Does that mean I know whether this is higher or lower? This can't be 8, can it? If it's 7, it's going to be quite impinged upon. Maybe I've got to do some Sudoku. I mean, that's an outrageous thought. Okay, what's that digit? Let's think about that for a moment. Now, that's definitely not higher than 6. Because if it's higher than 6, the only digit available is 8. And we know we can't have this as 8 because it would be completely ringed in grey. So it's lower than 6. So if that's 5, this is a 4 or lower. 4, 3 or 1. Now, if it's 1, we know it can't be 1 because we'd have the 2 by 2 of green problem that we found up there. So this is now 3 or 4 only. Which unfortunately I think is absolutely fine, isn't it? Okay. So there must be some other magic we can perform, probably with these two circles. But let me just stare at this for a moment or two and see if I can see something. That's not a 6 by Sudoku, using this power of this 6. One of these is grey. Grey, green. 3, 4, 5, triple. I don't know. I think I'm getting stuck. It's not terribly surprising. But it is annoying. Come on. Don't make me say bobbins. Bobbins. What rules could I have forgotten here? Many. Do we know? Maybe I have to colour my 3s, 4s and 5s. That's another thought that's just occurred to me. Or is there something... This maybe... if that's a 3, that's going to shade this cell in, isn't it? This cell is at least a 3, because it's already seeing 3 shaded cells. So it's at least a 3. But again, I think it could be a very, very shaded sequence, that. There's nothing particularly to prevent that. So what am I missing? Maybe it's the 9s. I've not really thought about the given digits. I never tend to get any, so I often ignore them. 9's in one of those 3 cells. Yeah, so digits like 1 and 8 in the middle box, where are they going? You can't put 1s or 8s in any of those cells. So 1 is in fact in one of 2 positions. 8's got to be in one of those 3 positions. Again, you can't put 8 here because this would be a 9. And you can't put 1 here for obvious reasons, or 1 here because it's going to be ringed by grey. So this middle digit is restricted by Sudoku. It is either 2, It's not 3, 4 or 5. It could be 6 or 7. So can we rule out one of those options very cleanly? That's the question. If this is 2, yeah, this cell has no value, because it would need to be 3, 4 or 5 in order to be between those two cells. So that's not 2. So this is 6 or 7, which means this can't be 6 now because it would have no gap. Ah, yeah, I see. It's this digit, isn't it? That's the problem. In fact, have I just broken the puzzle? No, this has to be 6. Oh, that's really clever. That's really clever. Yeah, so in order to find a digit that meets these two criteria, because this cannot be 3, 4 or 5, in fact that was the simpler way to do this, is to do Sudoku on this digit. And if you do Sudoku on this digit, because it can't be 1, 2 or 9 or 3, 4 or 5, you find it's got to be 2, 6 or 7. And if it's 2, 6 or 7 and it's between those two digits, you can see it must be 6. So I think that's been sitting there as a possibility for a while. Now, that has become a 7. Now remember, we worked out something about 7s. The greys, there's only one green cell in those 8 cells, and that we cannot have those 4 being grey. So we can grey the corners and hope that that gives us something. Oh, come on. It must give me something. Oh, you rotten thing. You rotten thing. Do we know? Do we know which way that goes? Okay, that can't be 3 now. Oh no, it could. 3, 4, 5. That's at least 4, isn't it? So this is 4, 5, 6 or 7. It's 4 at least, because it sees 4 grey cells already. This is 4 or 5. So if this was 4, both of those cells would be green. Is there a problem with that? No, I don't think so. Don't think so. What if that's a 7 then? Then that's going to be grey. And that's going to be green. And all of those are going to be grey. Not sure. I'm not sure whether I can definitively rule anything out from there. Okay, where's 1 going in this box? It can't go on a between line, so it's got to go into one of those cells. That means that's not a 1, which means I get a 1 at the top of the grid. Which means this is not a 1. Which means this is a 1. Does that help us? Yes, that's a 1 by Sudoku, so this is not a 1, so this is a 1. How many 1s have we got? All of a sudden, a few. 6. There's a 1 in one of those two squares. Oh no, there isn't, because that's a 1 by Sudoku, so this is a 1. That should get us up to 8, and we can get the 9th one into this position. Lovely. Okay, so that's helped us a little bit. Well, I say it's helped us. It's helped us with Sudoku on a digit that's probably, not going to be terribly forcing. Okay, those digits there have to be between 1 and 4 or 5. So they've got to be 2s, 3s, or 4s, and that one can't be 2. So that gives me a 3... Oh, I see, that places 6 in this column, believe it or not. Because that is a 3, 4, 5, 6 quadruple, the 6 in which can only go there. That's strange. So 6 is in one of... 6 is in one of those two squares. 6 is in one of these two squares. And can we do better than that? I've got a 3, 4, 5 triple here, so those squares have got to be 7s, 8s and 9s. We don't know much about 7s, 8s and 9s though, so I don't think that's going to be terribly helpful. What about this being 6? Here's a small point that's quite interesting. If that's a 6, I've got to put some grey cells in the perimeter here. At least one of those, well, many more than one of those 5 cells there must be grey in order to achieve the quota of 6, because I can only put 3 greys there. So that means, because our greys must connect around the perimeter, that cell, whichever one of these is grey, it must connect all the way around the grid. So those have got to be grey, at least. That's got to be green, therefore. Oh, I just need one more now. Well, these, again, because the maximum number I can put in grey that's not in the perimeter is those 3, whichever one, I mean, I must be getting at least to here with greynesses. Although that doesn't give me any 2x2s or anything, so this is a 3 or a 4. Oh, that's lovely. That's absolutely lovely. Right, this cell is where I want to look now. Imagine that was a 3. It sees 3 already, so both of those would be green, and that would create a 2x2. So that is not only is this a 4, but these 2 squares here must contain the grey digit to stop this being a 2x2, and therefore those 2 squares must be green. And if both of these are green, that 6 clue is now finished, because we can only have 2 greens. So all of these turn grey. This has got to be grey to avoid a 2x2. Therefore, that's got to be green to correct the count of this. That felt like progress. That's a 5 now because it needs to be between 4 and 6. So 3, 8 and 9 into these squares. So that's a 3, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. So those squares have got to be 2, 5 and 6 to finish off that box. So that's not 5 anymore. There's a 5 in one of these 2 squares, so that's not 5 anymore. Has that done it? I don't know. But that definitely felt like progress, didn't it? Progress of a sort. So which clues have I now not used? I've got this one. Yeah, I've still got all of this stuff at the bottom totally unresolved. Okay. So there must be some cleverness still to be done. Where is the cleverness? That's no longer a 4, look, because of this 4. That's no longer a 4 because of that 4. So perhaps SUDOKU might help us out here. So this digit is... Right, so if that's a 4, this digit is a 5 or a 6. That feels like it's sort of really restricted, but it's still not quite good enough. That's not a 6 at the top of the grid. No, I thought I could see a 3, 4, 5 triple, but unfortunately there is a 2 sullying my ability to claim that. Alright, so do we know what those digits are by SUDOKU now? I think we do. We don't know the order of them, but we know that they are a 2 and an 8. Oh, we do know the order of them because there's a 2 here. So that's a 2 and that's an 8, and therefore that's beautiful. That does it. Look, that gets me a 3 here. So now this can't be 4, it must be 5 to allow this to be 4. That's now 6 and that's now 7, and that felt like it was an enormous improvement on our situation. That's now an 8 by SUDOKU. That's a 6 by SUDOKU. Wow. Wow. Okay, so right, that's now a 4 by SUDOKU. That's a 3. What can we do along here? Anything? No. What about that one? That's not 4. There's a 3, 5 pair in row 5 I'm seeing. That square's still got lots of options as well. Alright, but this... Oh, that's a 9 now. So this is a 7. 7. That's a 3. That's an 8. This is a 9. Wow, okay, so 3s, 4s and 7s into the top of the grid. Has this... Well, this has helped us, hasn't it? Because, of course, now this being a 7... Yeah, it must be surrounded with 4 greys in the corners for the reasons that we talked about before. Now that's going to matter for the following reason. He says, desperately trying to work out what that reason is. I can see this grey has to escape, but I don't think I know yet how it escapes. This is a... Oh no, hang on, this is a 5. It's finished. So that's got to be green. So this grey has got to escape this way. It's still not escaped, so it's still got to go up here. Now has that's completed my 7, look. Okay. Have we got any other connectivity considerations? We've got a sort of rump of this bear shape of green up here. That needs to be somehow finished off. What about those digits? 9, 8 and 2. So that's a 2. And this is an 8, 9 pair. Which means this is a 2 and this is a 5. Has that helped us though? I suspect not. 8s you can see are aligning there, so there's now an 8 in one of those 2 squares in row 7. And that being a 5 gives me a 4 here actually. So I get left... Oh, I've got this 3, 5 pair I spotted before. So oh, that's a 6 naked single. Sees an 8, 9 pair in the column. So these are now an 8, 9 pair. I can see that's giving me an 8, 9 pair in column 1, knocking the 8 out of this square and plonking it into row 7, column 2. So we'll take that with gratitude. I've got a 3, 4 pair here, so this has become a 5. So that's a 3, that's a 5. That's no longer a 5. So in this row I need 3s, 4s and 7s. Let's put that in. That's got to be 4. Oh no, 3, 4 is there. That's a 7. Aha. So there's a 7 up here. This is a 3 or a 4. This is now not a 7. So there's a 3, 4 pair here. So that's a 7 in the corner. And we need 2, 8 and 9. So that's a naked single 2. And this is an 8 or a 9. I think that's been available for a while. This column has not had in it 6 and something. 6 and 2, which we can put in. So 2 lives in exactly this square. Is that surprising? That's a 3, I'm just seeing by Sudoku. So that's a 4 up there. This is a 3, 5 pair. Okay, let's look at this column where we need to put 7 and 9 into the grid. So I don't know if we can do that, but it almost feels like the Sudoku is sort of giving way now, doesn't it? It's yielding its secrets. Goodness only knows how this yin-yang finishes. Those squares are a 3, 4, 5 triple. So that's a 5. That's a 4. That's a 3. Good. So now we should get that. That's a 6. That's got to be a 4. So that's a 4, that's a 3, that's a 3, that's a 5. The 7 in this column must go here, so that's 9, that's 8, that's, whoopsie, that's 8, that's 9, that's 8, that's 9, that's 3, that's 4, and what's going on at the bottom then? That digit's known, that's a 5 by Sudoku, and that can't, so that's got to be 7, so it is done. It is done. I'm not going to click tick though, because even if it looks done, it's not done because we have not finished the yin yang. So what have I got left to do? Have I filled in all of the... No, this 6, that must be green to be correct, because I've already got my 6 greys. So how has that changed anything? This, oh, that, right, so that fixes the centre, because we know that in that string of 8 there was only 1 green, which now apparently is there. So both of those turn grey. So now that must avoid a 2 by 2 by being green. This bear shape hasn't escaped, so let the bear escape to there. That's therefore grey to avoid a 2 by 2, and that's green to avoid a 2 by 2. Good grief. Good grief, yes. I wondered what that was saying. I was like, oh no, I've made a mistake. But no, it's correct. That is beautiful. Imagine that being your first hybrid Sudoku creation. It's just sick, isn't it? Florian, take a bow. That was beautiful. I loved everything about that. I loved the fact that there was, it was heavy on the yin yang at the start, but then it started to get, the between lines were doing magical work. And I loved the fact that the minesweeper clues, they had certain sort of global type constraints you could appreciate once you thought about them. So like you could never put an 8 on or a 1 on an internal circle, which wasn't at all obvious to me until I started to explore the puzzle. I love the fact that you could work out that this, the way that, that house was very important, wasn't it? It gave me a 7 here, which stopped that being a 7, which helped with that digit. There was all these beautiful interactions across the grid. Loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.